Get ready. Mike Tirico is about to pull you in to discuss his life on the road with NBC Sports.
Looking deep, Chris Fink down there. Fink, did he catch it? Yes! Touchdown Irish! Incredible grab!
Mike's got you covered for the PGA Tour, the Triple Crown, Notre Dame football, and Football Night in America.
You can't cover all of these things.
It's the Mike Tirico Podcast.
This marks the beginning of a new broadcast era.
Mike Tirico, Godspeed.
Hey everyone, thanks for downloading the podcast. Episode 3. Al Michaels, by the way, on the guest list next time around. So look forward to that. What a doubleheader we have here. Our new golf teammate at NBC, Paul Azinger, Ryder Cup captain, PGA champion, going to join us. He comes up in a little bit, but first, as good as it gets, playing quarterback in the NFL. Coming off a bye week, trying to get the Packers turned around. A visit with Aaron Rodgers starts us off. So a bye week for Aaron Rodgers. Do you watch football? What do you do?
I watched a couple games Sunday when we got back, but no, not really. I was out in the sticks in Wyoming and didn't watch any TV all week. I saw what the Thursday night score was. I was interested in that, but no, I was enjoying the mountain air and a little fishing and a lot of relaxing.
More important mentally or physically to unplug for a little bit?
I think, well, because I'm dealing with an injury, really both. Nice to have a week of no pounding on my knee, but mentally, it's always good to have balance, and there's not many things I enjoy more than fishing, fly fishing. I enjoy obviously a good 2-minute drive, and I love competing, but being out on the river with no service is one of my favorite places to be.
Is that a good feeling to look at your phone and it says no service?
Yeah, we got to the river. I looked down at my phone. It said no service, and I just put it in my pocket and enjoyed the scenery and the bald eagles and catching a couple fish.
Are you as good a fisherman as you are a quarterback?
No, not at all. I'm coachable though, and we had a great guide with us. He was helping me out. I've been a few times before, but no, I'm a lot better on the field, a lot more comfortable. I still, I snagged the guide one time, felt bad about it, not in the face or anywhere, but kind of on the back of his shirt. So I felt bad about that, but luckily I got that out pretty quickly. Only tangled my line a couple times. So it was good.
You're not moving the boat around to extend the play, are you?
No, not at all. I'm trying to just try not to hurt anybody, not stick anybody, not hurt any fish. Catch and release. So it was good times.
When you got hurt in the opener, when you were on the cart, I don't know if you saw the shot on any of the replays. When you were on the cart going back to the locker room, it looked like your face was saying, man, not again, and it gave off the impression that it was going to be a long time. And a long time was a half hour, and then you came out of the tunnel in one of the greatest shocks of all of our lives. How worried were you when you were going back for the further exam that it was going to be really bad?
I was worried after we went in that secret blue tent, and Doc said he wanted to, get an X-ray and get a better look at it. I was worried that it was significant because I was in a great deal of pain. My real thought on the cart was, and actually turned to Josh, who was driving, I said, does this thing go any faster? I said, I could almost walk off the field this fast. So we had a little laugh about that. But I was definitely, a little worried about this being the first game, and was it going to be significant? Was it going to be out? But once we went back in the locker room and checked out, I just felt like I could play through the pain and get back out there.
How close are you to being yourself at this point?
Close. The bye week definitely helped. We'll see how it feels this week in practice. But I obviously would love to take the brace off at some point. Not sure if it's going to be this week or not. But I'm definitely improving. I took a shot in the Detroit game, which kind of set me back a little bit as far as mobility. But I felt good. Felt good last week, and I'm getting better. Hopefully, be able to take this thing off pretty soon.
I know you're awesome, but you are not getting younger. You do get older every day. Can you be the great quarterback that you are and play in the pocket a little bit more, or is that just not who you are?
Well, I mean, I'd obviously love to take less hits, and less hits outside the pocket would be great. But you can't really keep instincts all the way down. My natural instincts, the way I played for so many years, usually takes over on the field, and that's really what I was counting on when I got back out there, was the adrenaline to kick in and be able to at least kind of move around a little bit. And every week has been kind of the same, feeling decent, adrenaline kicks in, and I'm feeling more like myself on the field. When it comes to adjusting my style, my style is my style, and it's gotten me this far, and it's why I put in, the time in the off season to try and still be able to move around a little bit. Obviously, I don't want to take any shots like I did last year in Minnesota, so I got to be, smarter about some of those. But some of those are going to happen inside the pocket. I got hurt in Chicago inside the pocket, so
Yep.
it's a dangerous game. That's why we love it. It's the thrill of that, and the competitive juices going of playing against guys who are trying to whack you every play. And I'm gonna try and keep holding on to the way I play for a number of years, Mike.
You do great interviews. You're one of the smartest guys who we've ever covered in any sport. And there were a couple of things you said in interviews this year that really stuck with me. One was recently on Sirius NFL Radio. You were on with Favre, and it was just really cool to hear, because I got the lucky opportunity to do the Monday night game when you got your first start in the post-Favre era, and I will never forget looking from that booth at Lambeau and seeing a whole bunch of 4s and not as many 12s and jerseys in the crowd. And you have just for a decade, with your way about you and your play, won people over. And to hear you and Brett have this like a conversation, appreciating what each other has done and what you've meant in each other's lives, I thought was just really cool. And it just struck for me how tough that must have been for a lot of other guys and for you, but you never let it show, that specter of Favre that was always hanging over you there in Green Bay. At what point did you get to that other side where you're like, hey, this is me now, and I belong in this spot with all the other greats in Packer history?
Well, for me, the relationship with the fans, the start of really the love affair goes to the last game of that 2008 season. We played a 0-15 Lions team we were expected to beat. And, we beat them, I think it was 31-21, kind of pulled away in the end. And we were 6-10. I remember walking off the field, getting a big-time ovation. And that, still to this day gives me the chills. And sometimes it choke me up because I think about how it was difficult at times during that off season and during the year, but that moment will always stay with me about how special I felt that connection really start there and how it's grown. As I've looked back at my career, one thing that was very important to me at some point was really rectifying that relationship with Brett and getting back to where we were in 2007 when he was starting and I was a backup, and we had a great time and really enjoyed hanging out with each other and being teammates. And then all the stuff happened in 2008, and then we had like an on-stage handshake at the honors.
Right.
That one year that kind of started some of the healing process. And now, I consider him a close friend. We talk a bunch. I went down and visited with him for a couple days in the off season, and that has really meant a lot to me to be able to find that friendship with Brett again and honor him as a friend and a former teammate and a Packer quarterback the way that he deserves to be honored, and remembered as an incredible player, incredible competitor, and as much as it was tough the first year, they drafted this young kid from California. He's 36, turning 37, not ready to retire, and the strains that put on our relationship. Now we can look back and I think have a lot better appreciation for each other, for me understanding what he was going through, for him understanding what it was like to be 21 and play with one of your idols. And it's been great to get to make up for lost time with Brett because, he meant a lot for me in my development as a player.
Because it's funny, because I watch some of the plays you make, and it just reminds me of your time around Favre and how much you've always thought about him. And you never want to say it because it almost would be like insulting you that you're a product of being around Brett Favre. But it's really cool that you would just embrace what he meant to you at that time in your formative couple of years as you kind of watched and learned how to do it and how to do it with your own skill set and your own personality too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we play differently, but we do some of the same things on the field, ability to extend plays and making throws from different angles. And I had the best seat in the house watching that for 3 years and what that looked like and what it sounded like in the huddle and what it sounded like in the meeting rooms and how he went about his business. And I just tried to soak it all up. I think that's what you need to do with any relationship in this business is even if it's trying for a period of time is to learn and to put aside your ego and find ways to get something out of that relationship. And for Brett and I, it was phenomenal for me as a young quarterback to come in and before the draft, I'm thinking I'd be number one pick and I'm ready to start right away. And then to get to Green Bay and sit behind a legend and realize, man, I got a long way to go if I want to be the kind of player that Brett Favre is, because he does things on the field that I don't even think about at this point. And so I just sat back and I watched and I learned and I studied and I listened. And I started to incorporate some of those things that he did incredibly well that really nobody else could do or can do, and incorporate those into my game. And then the stuff that I thought I want to do differently, I did that. And because you got to become your own guy, your own teammate, your own quarterback. But I had a great one to watch.
Yeah, it's funny, Aaron. Like now, we get panicked when a guy comes in and he's not playing by mid-season. And if I think of the three guys who are, the velvet rope guys, the guys in the all-time VIP line who are playing right now, and it's no disrespect to Roethlisberger, but it's you and Breeze and Brady, and all of you guys got to watch, and you and Drew got to watch for a couple of years behind established guys, and Tom the same thing with Bledsoe, although it wasn't as long. And it's so funny how in 15 years you guys are still going, but nobody wants to go through that model. They want to rush the guys and get them out on the field right away and let them learn by taking their lumps, which is what Peyton did, too, in that first year.
Yeah, I mean, it can work both ways. Usually it works better for first-year guys when they got a team around them. And you saw that with Ben,
Yep.
Early in his career. And obviously he's had a fantastic career. Super Bowl champion and all the things that he's accomplished. But he got to a team that was intact. They had guys around him. A lot of first-year guys don't have that because they get drafted high. The team has a ton of needs, not just quarterback, and they got to go through their lumps. And the guys that make it out of there are the guys who are supremely mentally tough, and their confidence doesn't get shattered by playing with talent that's not up to the level of championship or playoff caliber. And it for me it was perfect. For some of these guys, I think the coaching is better at the lower levels. The offenses are better. There's more, especially what you're seeing with Kansas City and LA and Shanahan and some of these guys. You're seeing more of the RPO stuff and some of the college offense kind of go to the NFL. And these guys are more ready to play. I mean, they really are. You look at some of these young guys who've jumped out to great starts, they're ready to go right away. Where, myself, and I bet Tom would say the same thing. We definitely benefited from sitting and watching.
Have you seen Mahomes play?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, he's talented, man. He's fun to watch. He really is. He can do it all. I mean, he's had a couple, incredible play. Obviously, some great play as a whole, but a couple of those wow plays that are just incredible. Got to watch him as I was getting ready for San Fran.
Right.
And I mean, I got to tell you, Mike, it was really, really impressive. Just what he does, his pocket movement. Obviously, he's got a great arm, but he anticipates things really well. He's got good pocket movement. He's talented. I mean, he threw a ball left-handed this year too. That was incredible. He's a talented guy, very confident, but I like the way he carries himself. I like the way he plays. He's fun to watch, and I think he's got a really bright future.
Got three more for you. You play Brady a week after this, so it's on a Sunday night. We always get excited about it because we put the quarterbacks up on the marquee. You see that. Do you get excited because it only happens once every 4 years unless it happens at a Super Bowl, the chance to go out and be on the same field and have your team battling Tom Brady's team?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tom and I have known each other for a long time now, and he was always great to me as a young player, and we've continued our friendship over the years, and I just have a ton of respect for him as a player, he's a pioneer as far as how he takes care of his body and has been able to have sustained greatness late into his 30s and into his 40s now. It's just really impressive to watch and love competing against him. I know what type of competitor that he is, and I just have a ton of respect for him and Bill and their organization. And in 2010 we played him, and I was out with a concussion, so I've only got to line up against him once. We played him in 14 and beat him in a close one, but I always enjoy watching his games, and we talk a little bit during the season, and it'll be fun to compete against him again.
That's pretty cool that you call him a pioneer. I don't think if people are thinking of him in that regard, because we're thinking of the individual longevity, but all the TB12 stuff and the science behind it and all of that, that might be a more appropriate way to discuss Brady's longevity, that he's kind of setting a course for you guys. And, if you want to follow it and play into your 40s, you've got a template there to fit your deal into.
Yeah, that's true. It really is. I mean, he's done a great job of taking care of himself, and he's opened up some of those secret boxes and let some of us have an idea about how he's able to do it. It's really impressive. And I tease him. I feel like he's gotten more mobile as his career has gone on. I mean, you never used to see Tom take off and run, and now, every now and then he's taken off, and he had a big one in the Super Bowl. He ran like a 15-yard run in the Super Bowl. It's pretty impressive to see him, get more mobile with age almost.
Just please tell me that you don't have a pair of the TB12 pajamas, the recovery pajamas.
No, I don't.
Okay, good.
I don't wear pajamas.
Of course you don't. You're the worst. Last one. Peter King did a piece with you before the season started, and it was walking out to Lambeau, and it was just being a part of the 100th Packers team and the appreciation for what you get to do and where you get to do it. At what point did you become comfortable with soaking all that up every week? Because it's a lot, and a lot of people aren't wired for it, but you've figured out a way to do it. When did that become something that you embrace and say, you know what, I take this in every time, and it's really damn worth it?
Well, I'd have to say that I've been a fan of the game for years. I mean, I grew up watching Super Bowl highlights on an old VHS tape. And wearing that thing out. And the beginning of that tape would start with Bart Starr and Max McGee in the first couple Super Bowls, and knowing about Vince Lombardi and the sweep, and Jerry Kramer and Jim Taylor and Ray Nitschke, and all these incredible greats, and then to be picked by them, and then to start to not only embrace but learn about the rich history that we have. I already have a pretty high base level of nostalgia and appreciation for the history of our league and the history of this place. And I think that's what being a Packer is all about. It's embracing it. This is a family that extends far beyond the guys you're playing with. We have an incredible group of alumni who've accomplished so many things who are around all the time. When we made our run in 2010, Willie Davis was like our guy. He was like our mascot. I mean, he was in the locker room with us. He was giving us speeches. He was always around, and you love it because that guy was one of the guys who paved the road for us to get to where we are as an organization, as a league, to be able to be paid the way we are, the popularity of our sport. I just think you have to have a healthy respect and appreciation for those guys who came before you, especially when you're playing in Titletown and in the city where our notorious famous head coach, his name is the name on the Super Bowl trophy. Curly Lambeau, who started this organization, we play at Lambeau Field. I mean, it's a special bond and a special place, and I think that's what being a Packer is all about, is embracing the history, and then also realizing this thing's been going on since 1919. You're just a small part of this, and when you're done playing, it's going to go on. So your responsibility when you're with us is to carry on the traditions that we have of not only winning, but conducting yourself the right way, because that's what being a Packer is all about.
I hope the young guys in your locker room get a little bit of that and what it means to you, and take that away, because it is something special. It's
I do too, Mike. I really do, that part's really important. I think that's the extra part about being a Packer, is that there's a legit responsibility that we don't have an owner. So our owners, and they'll tell you this, it's our fans and our people that own stock certificates.
Yep.
That's who we're responsible to. When you play for an owner, that's kind of your first level, your first rung of authority that you are responsible to. When you play in Green Bay, you have a greater responsibility because there's 100,000 people that live here, and there's millions of fans all over the country, and especially in this region that, are looking to you to be good representations of the team and also role models, and I think we take that part very seriously.
That's really cool. My kids each own a share of stock from the last one they did to build the new end zone. So
now, there you go. See, we gotta be a good example for your kids.
They want you to stay healthy, so just stay in that pocket just a little bit more, and just hang in there. You are my favorite guy to talk to. There's nobody like you. Thanks for your time, man, and stay healthy. We look forward to watching you against the Rams and then the Patriots the rest of the season. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Our thanks to Aaron. I love how candid he is, how smart he is. He is as good as it gets to interview, especially in production meetings, and you got some of that on the air here. I hope you enjoyed that. Now we turn our attention to golf. Johnny Miller, as good as we've ever had in the 18th Tower, is retiring after the PGA Tournament, the Waste Management event in Phoenix, Super Bowl weekend. And after that, the 18th Tower man, next to our buddy Dan Hicks on NBC Golf, will be Paul Azinger, my old partner, during our ABC ESPN days with Nick Faldo. That's where Paul got his TV career started. We reunite a little bit when I get to work with those guys, but it is great to have Paul on the team. A chance to talk now with our newest NBC Sports golf analyst. All right, Azinger. So let's see. 2005, I think we started doing this with Nick Faldo. At what point did you realize that you were pretty happy talking about golf?
I think immediately I knew I was going to be happy to talk about golf. It was easy. I mean, I remember just jumping in the chair, sitting right next to you, and you made me comfortable, and I think that was really important, Mike. And I think probably as equally valuable was that we had so many great people already in place there, didn't we, at ABC? Yeah. And the great Peter Alice was there, and I think Baker Finch was calling shots. Terry Gannon worked some. Andy on the ground, Judy on the ground. Maybe Kratzert was on the ground. I forget. But, when you get surrounded by people like that, it does make it fun, and it makes your job easier. And that's kind of what happened. And then when it was Faldo and I up there together, I tell you, Mike, you the way you orchestrated that and kind of worked around us and figured out who we were and how to tee us up, it just worked. And I just think it's pretty cool that, Loomis was enough of a visionary to see Faldo and I being decent at that job. And I guess whatever, it's just amazing to me that we're now the only two that are really doing it.
That's right.
I'm happy to be here, and I owe a lot of it to you.
No, please don't. Not a drop of it. Mark Loomis was our producer at ABC, then he's at Fox now. So you're going to keep doing the U.S. Open and the U.S. Women's Open, is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to do all 4 days of the men's and the last 2 days of the women's, which is, it's not unprecedented, I guess. That Tommy Roy mentioned McEnroe this morning.
Yeah.
Worked for a couple different networks. Faldo's done it. And I just appreciate the effort by NBC to be willing to allow me to do that. And I'm really thankful that I'm able to still be there. They want me to be there at Fox. I mean, it is the United States Open, and I get to call the Open Championship over there, and Ryder Cup, and President's Cup, the Olympics, all that, Mike. And then the schedule, of course, the Florida swing is just second to none, really. A lot of players will skip the West Coast and get ready. They think the year starts at the Florida swing, and they're prepped for the Masters. You get to be at Arnold's place and go to TPC where I had my chances and let it get away. It's just a brilliant schedule. And then to get to document the winner of the FedEx Cup, $15 million to first place, somebody's going to be choking their tail off, and we have the privilege of getting to document it.
and that was my favorite line working next to you because let's be honest, okay? Johnny was a little bit different in the way he approached things. There was like an honesty. It was almost a different honesty with Johnny. Curtis had his own way of just being raw and honest, and they were uncomfortable with not everybody being happy about what they said. And that was a little bit of a difference in the world of golf. And I'll never forget when you started talking, it was one of the first tournaments, maybe the match play, and you talked about that there's a dollar amount that makes everybody choke at some point. I go, whoa, can you really think that way? But you put your experiences on the golf course, I thought, into the mind and the head of the viewer to understand that, yeah, you see these guys all the time, but even though they're making money, they feel pressure when there's big money on the line. Nobody really had talked about that aspect of it very often.
Well, because it's not really true. I mean, it seems like it's almost taboo now to talk about the money,
right?
Because you have to talk about the FedEx Cup points or whatever. We're trying to turn it into points. But the truth be told, there's only two things that we choke for. One is cash, and the other is prestige. And the most prestigious events will cause you to choke the most. But if you can't win it, then, Mike, it's all about the money. If you got a putt to finish third by yourself or tied for third with six people, that's the only other thing that's going to get your attention at that level. So there's two things. It's the cash and the prestige. And, Johnny used the choke word, Mike, but he never said so-and-so choked.
Right.
He said, This is the kind of shot you can choke on.
Right.
And that's different than saying so-and-so choked. And I don't want to call anybody a choker. But the truth is that guys do choke a little bit out there. It just would be, I think, I don't know, it's just not very nice to try to label somebody a choker out there. I just don't see any value in that whatsoever. Even if he is choking a little bit, I'd say it a little differently, or I'd set it up ahead of time in a way that's not quite as harsh.
So you had the opportunity to do the USGA package the last couple of years. That was the Amateur and the Senior Open and some other tournaments there, in addition to the U.S. Open. And you were, when we were doing the end of the Open contract at ABC ESPN, show up at the Masters, do a little work there, and then do the Open. So it was a couple of tournaments. What will be the difference, other than the time, what will be the difference covering a lot more tour events, week-in, week-out events, as part of the run-up to the FedEx Cup, the Open, and the U.S. Open?
I think that it can only help me. It can only make me, better leading into the end of the season. It's my schedule is such that I literally have almost a full year off every single year, and then jump into the broadcast booth to cover an event. And
that's hard. That's really hard.
It's tricky. When we were at ESPN, we had such a great broadcast team in place that it was literally seamless.
Yeah.
And we were able to call a golf tournament off like we've been doing it every week. But now that I will be doing it every week, I'm going to know a lot more detail about the players, how they think, what their personality's like, I think is important to me. I think about somebody like Brooks Koepka, who's so quiet, and he doesn't feel he gets his just due and all that. And people say, he needs to open up more and he needs to talk more. But quite frankly, some of us just like to let our clubs do the talking. And I think that's how Brooks Koepka thinks. Now he's going to pay the price for it if he wants the fame to go with it, or the adulations and getting invited to the press room and all that stuff. But it's all secondary. He's the number one player in the world. He'll be in that press room now. But I don't want to be critical. I want to know who they are. I will know who they are. I'll be able to kind of halfway determine, like you do, what a person's like, how to make them better is important when you're leading people. But also knowing who they are will help make you a better broadcaster when you start to realize how they process information. And that's a big part of it, I think. And I may be reading too much into that, but
no.
I just can't wait to do a full schedule and get to know the players better.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the difference for you. I really do. So I've dealt with a lot of people who've come off the field, off the course in this case, and into the booth. And depending on how far removed they are, they have a different feeling about what they can say and how they can say it. Golf is really, really different because there's no team, there's no coach. When you say something critical about a golfer, it's that person, almost always. Where have you found the comfort line of you got to get to know the guys, you want to like them, you want to be liked, we all like to be liked, but yet at that big moment, you got to be brutally honest about what they do. Where have you found that line in your, 13, 14 years of doing this already?
I think that my belief is to never be personal with a player. I've done that before. Roy Sabatini left Ben Crane that one time. We were calling that event. It was at Congressional.
Yep.
And he was wearing white pants and that bright red shirt on. And I remember he left Ben Crane because he was playing so slow. And he'd been paired with Ben the first 2 days and also on Sunday. And he just had enough. But Ben Crane had a chance, to make a lot of money. And I kind of got personal about Roy Sabatini. I won't even mention what I said, but I did make it personal. And it was the wrong thing to do. And I learned from that. I'm not going to make it personal if a guy's spitting a bit, whether I know him or I don't know him. I'm going to tell it like it is in a way that I don't even know how it comes out. Mike, it's not like I've prepared to say anything a certain way. That's the beautiful thing about calling live sports, and I'm sure you know it as well as I do. It's harder to call something or to read something or to, when we do the replays. Every word has to be perfect. When you call in live sports, you don't have to be perfect. I'm not looking to be perfect. And I have no idea what I'm going to say because I don't know what the situation is yet. So that's how I'm going to answer that.
You opened my eyes to something about golf that it takes, let's say, 4 hours to play the round. And what is it, like 90 seconds that you're actually in motion? The length of time it takes to swing, somewhere between 90 seconds and 2 minutes. The mental part is really cool. As you've observed so many people in pressure situations, what have you learned that you wish you could have had knowledge of 10, 15 years, 20 years back when you were playing about the mental part of golf under the biggest pressure moments?
Well, I think that, who was it that said, what was the line about golf? About 90% of golf is 100% mental. I don't know what, or something stupid like that. But the whole mental aspect, the whole mental side of the game is important to me. And I think it made the big difference for me personally. And I think it makes a big difference for these guys now. It's really not a matter of what the player's thinking, Mike, to me, as much as it's how the player thinks. And, how a player thinks when it matters most is really important. If he stumbles into old habits and makes, silly mistakes, he's going to pay a heavy price. So, beyond that, I don't know what to say.
How he thinks, not what he thinks. That's
well, the
pretty
what
interesting.
part. What did Nicklaus think to square the face?
Right.
What does Tiger think to have it right on the button? Certainly not what Furyk thinks or what Trevino thought or what Raymond Floyd thought.
They're all thinking different stuff.
Yes, we're all unique, and no two swings that are the same. You go in that Hall of Fame, there's no two grips that are the same. So it's just a great sport that I believe there are only a few things that everybody does the same, and everything after that is you're dealing in opinion. Mm-hmm. And as much as instruction has gotten bigger and bigger and more detailed, and now they're measuring brain waves in these players and how they react to anxiety and what voice tones that are better for them before they tee off and all this crazy stuff. But they're all hitting the same amount of fairways. Video cameras been around since the 70s, and still no two swings look the same.
Right.
And still nobody's hitting 18 greens in regulation every day. So how far can all this instruction really take a guy? It can certainly make most players better, but it's not gonna teach a guy how to think when it's time to get to impact, and that's what it's all about in the end.
That's a great perspective. That's why I love listening to you on TV, and it's gonna be great to listen to you more. All right, couple of quick things here. Replacing Johnny, how tough is that?
Replacing Johnny, I think, is it sounds really hard to do, but I'm just not going to try to replace him. I'm just going to try to jump in that. I'm not filling his shoes. I'm there because you can't. I'm just going to go in there and try to be myself. I talked to Johnny for about 20 minutes the other day, Mike, and he said, Zing, he says, I walk around when I'm out looking at the course in the morning, and everybody says, keep telling it like it is, Johnny, keep telling it like it is. And he said, he said, the reason that you're doing this and you've gotten good at it is because you tell it like it is. And he said, I don't know why these other guys don't have the guts to tell it like it is, but you do. And I just laughed. But I'm not going to try to fill Johnny's shoes because I don't think I could. I'm going to hope that just jumping in that chair is going to be good enough for me just being myself. And it's one of the things you always, kind of, made me aware of was that you just got to be yourself. Yeah. And, we talked about, I'm a little bit more rough around the edges, maybe not as polished as a lot of those guys, but it works. And I'm real happy to be out there. It's a privilege to get to call golf, to get to call this kind of golf. And Johnny got to do it for 29 years, and he got really good at it, man. And so it's big shoes to fill if I was trying to fill them, but I'm not. I'm just going to go try to be myself.
Two more. Can there be a great golfer right now who doesn't play the way the best golfers in the world, DJ, Koepka, Rory, guys who crush it, Justin Thomas, guys who hit it a mile? Can somebody who doesn't hit it a mile and a half come out right now and be a great golfer?
Well, I've always felt like great was the most overused word. Now, personally, I would say that you would be considered a great player if you ever got on the tour, or if you ever won your club championship. He's a great player. He won the club championship.
That's fair.
But true greatness is like Tiger, Snead, Hogan, Nelson, those types of players. That's the true greatness. And I think that this day and age, Mike, it requires power. You have to do three things well to play great golf. You got to drive that ball, you got to hit great wedges, and you got to make putts when you need them the most. And right now, that whole power is a part of the equation that almost trumps everything else. Of course, if you're a bomber, you're going to get one or two more wedges a day than the next guy. And if you get two wedges a day more than the next guy, that's 8 more wedges in a tournament. You're going to beat him every single day.
Right.
That's just, or every week, I should say.
Right.
So I think it's going to be really hard for somebody that isn't powerful to go out there and dominate that tour, Mike.
Last one. How shocked are you where Tiger is now?
I'm totally shocked. You know as well as I do in all my years at ESPN that I never wrote Tiger off. I would always say naysayers beware.
Right.
I felt Tiger could win with a replaced knee. You could replace his knee and he'd still win. And then all of a sudden, Mike, when he was going through all the emotion and when he was going through the physical issues, he also was in this process of trying to over-engineer his swing. And he over-engineered himself right out of a career there for a little while. But as he was, getting rid of some of the clutter that it was in his mind with respect to golf, his back seized up, and suddenly he's got a fused back. At that point, Mike, for the first time ever, I thought maybe, just maybe, this guy's never going to win again. Yeah. And then suddenly, within about a year and a half, he's hoisting that Tour Championship trophy. And I just think it's one of the greatest comebacks. I think watching Tiger Woods right now is like watching a living, breathing miracle. And he's doing it on our watch. He's opened himself up to a whole new generation of high schoolers that never saw Tiger play.
Yep.
And 6th graders and 5th graders that watch golf every day that never got to see Tiger play. Well, now they all got a taste of that. And I feel for those guys that said they want a piece of Tiger Woods. I mean, there's more than comes with Tiger Woods than just that game. He brings that crowd with him. He brings those black pants and a shirt the color of blood. And I'm telling you, be careful what you wish for, fellas, because Tiger's back.
So is Azinger. I am fired up about that. I tweeted out on Monday, it is good to be teammates again, man. Never wavered in being friends, but great to be teammates. I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to seeing you, and so happy for you. Congrats, man.
Thanks, Mike. I can't wait to see you.
My thanks to Azinger and Aaron Rodgers. Next week on the schedule, Al Michaels. We look forward to that. Thanks to Alex Hardy for putting this together. Thanks to the team. Thank you for downloading. No, it was a long one, but it was worth it with Azinger and A-Rod. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for downloading the Mike Tirico podcast. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.